All right, today we're jumping into one of the most explosive and, honestly, world-changing books ever written. Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract. Now, I know what you might be thinking, another dusty old philosophy book, but no, this thing is dynamite. It helped spark actual revolutions and totally flipped our idea of what it means to be free inside a society. It asks a question that's just as real today as it was back in 1762. How can we be governed and still be free? Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Just let that sink in for a second. Few sentences in all of history have landed with this much power. This one line is the spark that lights the whole fire. It's a total takedown of the world he was living in, and it forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question. If we're all born free, then where did all these chains, these rules, these governments, these hierarchies even come from? And maybe more importantly, do they have any right to be there? And that question leads us straight into the core problem Rousseau was totally obsessed with solving. He called it the freedom paradox. How in the world can we live together, in an organized, safe society without giving up the very freedom that's our birthright? That's the puzzle we're going to unpack. Now, to really get why his ideas were so radical, you have to picture the world he was in. We're talking 1762. This was a time when kings ruled by divine right, basically saying God put them in charge, so don't question it. Massive inequality wasn't just a thing, it was seen as the natural order. And if you were an average person, you had zero say in how you were ruled. But under all that, the Enlightenment was bubbling up, this amazing, restless period where brand new ideas about freedom and justice were starting to catch on. This was the powder keg Rousseau was dropping his book into. So Rousseau sees this deep, fundamental clash. On one side, he truly believed that in our natural state, humans are good. We're free, we're equal, we have compassion. But then, society happens. The minute we group up, things get messy. We invent property, and suddenly there's jealousy and inequality. We build hierarchies. We create laws that, more often than not, just end up protecting the people who are already powerful. That's the paradox in a nutshell. And this brings us right back to the million-dollar question of his entire book, the whole reason for this explainer. How do we get all the good stuff from living together, safety, community, progress, without accidentally locking ourselves in the very chains we were trying to escape? For Rousseau, the answer was, well, it was completely out of the box. It wasn't about finding a nicer king or a more benevolent master. Nope. It was about totally redefining what freedom even is. And he did it with this incredible idea he called the social contract. Okay, so what exactly is the social contract? At its core, it's basically an unspoken deal. We, as free people, all agree to come together and form a single collective community. We agree to trade in some of our raw, natural freedom, the freedom to do literally whatever we want, for a much better, more secure kind of freedom, civil freedom, all protected by the group. Think of it as the Great Exchange. You can see it right here. Step 1, every citizen agrees to give up their purely selfish will, the right to just do anything that pops into their head. But look at step 2. Look what they get in return. Collective freedom, protection from each other, and real political equality under laws that they themselves helped make. For Rousseau, this is a no-brainer. It's a massive upgrade. And this right here, this is the mic drop moment of the whole book. For Rousseau, true freedom isn't running wild in the forest, doing whatever you feel like. That's the freedom of a wild animal. Real human freedom is being an active creator of your own society. It's the freedom to follow rules that you had a voice in creating. Freedom isn't isolation, it's participation. Okay, but if the people are making the laws, how do they figure out what's best for everyone? It could be chaos, right? Well, for this new kind of society to work, it needs a compass, a North Star. And this brings us to Rousseau's most brilliant, and let's be honest, his most confusing idea, the general will. This is the engine that makes the whole social contract go. So let's get really clear on this, because this is where people get tripped up. Look at the left column here. The general will is not simply what the majority wants. It's not a popularity contest. It's not just what the government tells you it is. No. Look to the right. It is the collective intention of all the people, always, always aimed at the common good, at the health and survival of the society as a whole. Here's a powerful way to get your head around it. Imagine society as a living body. Each one of us is like an organ: the heart, the lungs, the brain. The general will isn't what the heart wants or what the lungs want. It's the overall health of the entire body working together. When individual organs get selfish and act on their own, the whole body gets sick. And the political consequences of this idea are just massive. If the general will is the true guide, then ultimate power, what we call sovereignty, can only belong to the people as a collective. You can't give it away to a king. You can't split it up among a rich elite. And this means governments are not our masters. They're our employees. We hire them to get the job done. Their power is only legitimate if we consent to it, never because they have a bigger army.
So, what Rousseau is describing here is this constant, delicate balancing act. On one side, if you have total individual freedom with zero sense of responsibility to the group, you just get chaos. But on the other side, if you have absolute order forced on people from the top down with no freedom, well, that's just tyranny. The social contract is the lifelong effort to find that perfect balance right in the middle.
So, yeah, this was a mind-blowing idea in 1762. But why are we still talking about it today? In this last section, we're going to see that Rousseau's questions are maybe even more urgent now than they were back then. I mean, just look at the world around us. Sound familiar? Widespread political polarization? That's what a society that's lost its general will looks like. That deepening distrust in our institutions? That's what happens when people start to feel like the government isn't their servant anymore. And that endless tug of war between our individual wants and our collective needs? That is Rousseau's freedom paradox, playing out on the news every single night. Reading Rousseau forces us to confront these huge, timeless questions. What do I actually owe the community I'm a part of? And what does that community, in turn, owe me? It's a two-way street. So let's wrap up with the key takeaways. 1, we're born free, and the whole point of society should be to protect that freedom, not crush it. 2, real freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's being a co-author of the laws you live by. 3, the people and only the people are the ultimate source of power. 4, laws are only legit if they aim for the common good. And 5, none of this works unless we all step up and take our role as citizens seriously. It's so important to get this, though. Rousseau was not handing over some perfect utopian blueprint. He knew this stuff was messy and difficult. What he gave us was something way more valuable. A challenge. A challenge to constantly question power, to constantly redefine freedom, and to never stop trying to build better, more just societies. And that challenge brings us to the final question he leaves for all of us, then and now. Are we just going to be passive subjects of power, living under rules someone else made, or are we going to be active co-creators of our own shared destiny? That's the question.